All right, welcome back. In case you're just joining us, it's time for our conversation right now, and my guest is with me via Skype, Sam Obafemi. He's the founder, Sam Obafemi Behavioural Change Academy. Hello, Sam. Hello, Sam. Can you hear me? Hello.
Hi, Nancy. Good morning.
Good morning.
Hear you.
How are you doing today?
Can you hear me?
I'm
good. How are you?
I'm fine. Sam, before we open the phone lines and perhaps Zoom for our viewers this morning, let me know how you've been, let me know how you survived during the lockdown. You know, I remember at the beginning of the lockdown, we spoke, I think that first week.
Yes.
Or so, because a lot of people in modern history, we've not had something like this, where cities from Lagos to Nairobi, to South Africa, to the US, to France, to Germany, all cities were closed at the same time. I haven't heard of this kind of thing. Sometimes I wonder, I said, when I grow older, perhaps in my 90s and in my 100s, by God's grace, I will live to that. I'll be telling my children and grandchildren, something like this happened in 2020. And this is how, you know, we survived it. So how did you survive that period? How?
You know, Nancy, I recall on the 31st of March, I was on your show, and then it looked very uncertain. We really didn't know what we were expecting. For me, the period of the COVID and the lockdown scaled up my work. It was highly intense. And so for me, it was more of supporting people. My work has to do with supporting small businesses and supporting people with their mental health and emotional well-being. So for us in our organization, it was an increase in demand, and we were working literally around the clock. We had to increase our workforce to be able to meet up with the demand. So for us, it was like COVID happened to our advantage. But of course, considering the services we're providing, we saw people who were literally struggling with the COVID, with respect to monies, with respect to food, with respect to health, with respect to relationships. Issues like abuse increased, issues like, ability to get food around became a difficulty. So we were associated with people's challenges, and I saw how many organizations stepped up to the plate to support people. So for me, personally, the COVID was a major breakthrough for us as an organization. So we weren't really surviving. We were just being responsive to the situation per day. So that's the way it turned out.
So were you enjoying and were you smiling to the bank with money, just like some other sectors, like telecom sector is reflected also in the GDP numbers? Yes, reflected in the GDP numbers of telecoms and communication. Like for us in the communication industry, media, we were working back to back. In fact, during the lockdown, we were working like crazy. So were you smiling to the bank?
Well, let's just say we thank God.
Then the other thing I want to know too is your line of work. I see that there is a hunger right now from a lot of Nigerians for it, coaches and all of that. How is it? Are people embracing it more? Are businesses embracing it more?
The thing is, because there are evidences now that coaching and guidance and counseling and consulting has direct impact on people's well-being and people's businesses. People are beginning to embrace it. 10 years ago when I started coaching, it used to sound like, what do you mean coaching? How do you mean coaching? But now, because of the proliferation of that term, coaching by itself, people are more aware what it is. And then because there is of course, when things become popular, there is abuse and there is proper use. So people are beginning to relate with coaching, and people are beginning to see the difference between results-based coaching and those that are a fluke. So yes, directly, people are accepting coaching. People are using coaching more now, and it's becoming more common. In fact, people are beginning to have personal coaches for different areas of their lives, because people want to be financially stable, they have finance coaches. People want to be physically fit, they have workout or fitness coaches. People want to have a family life, they now have a family coach. So coaching has actually become more acceptable now, despite that it is becoming also more aware. So yes, that's the advantage of the industry.
The question
And
is,
I think this is the right time for someone who is interested in coaching to actually invest in learning how to use coaching methodologies.
it's also a job opportunity, isn't it?
Big time,
Is it a
big
job
time. Because
opportunity?
the pandemic paid off for coaches, basically. And especially coaches that were savvy with technology. If you're a tech savvy coach, this was your boom period. So people were using Zoom, Skype, Telegram, and other platforms like Microsoft Teams to develop and deliver coaching methodologies and solutions. So yeah, this season was very beneficial to coaches that knew how to take advantage of it, because I can't tell you categorically that everybody earned from it, but those that knew what to do, they did it well.
For people watching now, just like I've been watching the space for a while, and I see that advancement in that industry. One would say,
Yes.
okay, to get a coach now is expensive. To hire someone like you now, isn't it expensive? What will it take? Because we need to also develop with the changes of the times, as it were.
Yes,
So,
yes.
is it that capital intensive for an individual or a business? I know where I'm going to. This is the background.
The thing is, everybody has his own level. There are coaches at the level of the customer, and there are stature to everything. So I would tell you that the pricing for coaching is in grades. But the fundamental thing is the need you have or the goal you want to achieve will determine your appetite for coaching. There were some that wanted to hire me as their coach, but because, yes, I'm pricey, they would have to go and save or find a way to negotiate with my office to get some instrumental structure. But the demand or the need you are pursuing will determine your appetite. We say the force that you want to remove will determine the force that you will enter the contract. So if it's something that you really want to fix, you will find a way around it. But if people want to have excuses for, oh no, it's too costly, maybe the problem is not on your neck yet. But that's the way we look at it.
Okay. What's the difference between your line of work and especially your responsibility to your clients this period that we are surviving a pandemic, we are coping with it? What is the difference between you and a motivational speaker? Because I've seen a lot of people that will say, oh, coaches are just motivational speakers, just motivators. And we've come to a time that people are now averse to, no, I don't want that motivational, or they aspire to inspire people. We really don't need that.
Motivational speaking.
Aspire to inspire. Teach us exactly how we can do it. So don't motivate me. I will motivate myself. And perhaps as a religious person, either you're a Christian or a Muslim, your Quran will motivate you or your Bible will motivate you. So I don't need that motivation.
Oh my God. Well, motivation as a word is a trigger now. But one of the things that the significant difference though is that a motivational speaker raises your curiosity and enthusiasm and leaves you there. But how it is supposed to be is that you're supposed to help people become inspired and also show them the methodology of how to get the outcomes they want. That is where coaching comes in. So all coaches use motivation in their methodology. It's impossible to get someone to move from where they are to where they want to be without motivation. Some form of motivation is required. But just motivating without creating the plan, without creating the sequence, without creating the execution path, and the outcomes and the consequences for not following the plan, that if you don't put that in place, then there is no work done. Because motivation is it requires consistency to be sustained. So coaching is the sustainability for motivation. If I raise your inspiration and I raise your enthusiasm, I should also give you a plan that is timed, that is structured, that has consequences laden in it, so that you are able to arrive at the outcome where I have raised your motivation to imagine. That is how they work together. So motivation by itself is no work done, but motivation with a plan, an action plan with consequences attached to it, is the ideal way we should begin to approach this together. So yes, that's the way it works.
I said earlier that I know where I'm going to with these questions, because we will be taking comments and interactions from our viewers in a short while. For those on Zoom, I'm being told we have a lot of people on Zoom, but mute your audio. Yes, that's the English word. Mute your audio. So we will come to you in a bit. For those of you that are in that sector, and I know a lot of people are out of jobs right now, and some may have innate abilities to say, oh, I want to pursue this kind of job. What qualities do you need to be in that kind of job? But you will answer that. Let's quickly come over to Gideon. Gideon is calling us from Agbado, Lagos. Hello, Gideon. Okay, I think the line has dropped. So what qualities do you really need as a coach? And yes, to be a coach. And is courses like guidance and counseling, because I know that people teach or people go to study guidance and counseling. Do they have opportunities with this kind of work?
You know, the first requirement for coaching at all.
Sam, just hold on. Emmanuel Essien is joining us, I'm being told. Hello, Emmanuel. Hello, Emmanuel, are you there?
You know, the first requirement.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Good morning. We are still in the morning in Abuja. All right.
Oh, sorry. Good morning to you.
Good morning. Quickly, go ahead with your comments or your question.
Yeah, good afternoon. We are still in Abuja. Oh, sorry. Good morning to you. Good morning. I'm joining.
Okay. I think we just need to get that. For those of you on Zoom, you need to turn down the volume of your TV set so that I don't get to hear myself. I'm hearing myself in your room where you are right now because your TV set is on. That's the volume. So turn it down so that you can hear me. But let me go back to Sam. Sam, if you're still there, what qualities do you need to be in that job? Very quickly.
The first quality to be a coach is that you have a heart to help people get their results. That's the fundamental quality. However, there are skills you need to have. Skills like it is recommended that you have attended a training in coaching or a certification in coaching. That is necessary because we need to be able to create a benchmark upon which you are coaching people. For instance, I naturally loved to coach. I have the flair, but I had to undergo training and certification. And today I'm the Vice President of Empowerment in the Life Coaches Association of Nigeria. So the first thing that is safe is to at least have a training. It is very important. Counseling, for instance, is not coaching. They are two different things. Because in counseling, you may be required to advise and tell. In coaching, we are not allowed to tell things. We are allowed to ask questions and help you find your answers. It is training that helps you know the difference between coaching or counseling and therapy and consulting and mentoring. So training is a very fundamental requirement to have. And then for the industry, it is important to belong to a community or like an association for the sake of regulation. So these are some of the requirements for coaching that our people should know.
Okay, Sam, let's move over to Emmanuel Olorutoba on Zoom. Emmanuel, are you there? And I hope you've turned down the volume of your TV set. Hello, Emmanuel. Okay, so you can call us. We also have a phone number. You can actually call us via the telephone number on the screen right now so that you can communicate with us. And for those of you on Zoom, please mute your audio. When we come to you, I will really need you to put down the volume of your TV set. Okay, Sam.
Yes.
How should one exert control over this economic crisis that we're facing, not just in Nigeria, but globally? A lot of people are out of jobs. Some people are not surviving this thing well. Some health-wise, the money-wise. A lot of people have
Yes.
lost their jobs. How do you still
Yes.
exert control and to say, oh, that you are still in charge despite a lot of things bringing you down?
Thank you, Nancy. I recall that the last time I was on your show, I had a lot of backlash on Twitter when it sounded like I was being insensitive to my advice. But one thing has played out over the pandemic. Nigerians are very resilient people, first and foremost. And somehow we have a way of readjusting to the situation we find ourselves to be able to cope with the pandemic, because we have not seen the worst of it yet. The consequence of this gap in economic growth and personal health is still coming. And to prepare for it, we need to readjust our lifestyle. For instance, the kind of expenses we probably used to have when everything was fine, we need to readjust to cutting down our expenses. This is when to conserve your resources. If you remember the story of Joseph in Egypt about the 7 years of plenty and the 7 years of famine, this is the situation I see us in. We were in a situation where things were fine. Then we now have entered a pandemic and a crisis that requires us to be more circumspect and conservative in the utilization of our resources. So that is number one. Whatever resources you have at your disposal, be conservative in how you dispense of it. Number two, I believe that this is when to improve on interpersonal relationships, because it's not everything you should be spending for. A typical example, this is when to be closer. Thank God for the pandemic that has brought up a lot of new startups. There are now tech startups in health, tech startups in logistics, tech startups in fitness and work routine, tech startups in mental health, tech startups in several areas of life. Take advantage of these tech startups because their prices and fees are less. And then you can build a relationship with them so that you can have some level of free advisory support that can reduce the extent of expense you may want to get into. That's number two. Number three is, I believe that, we talked about motivation a few minutes ago, and sometimes it sounds very trivial. But this is when to invest in self-mastery and self-awareness information. People need to begin to invest in self-motivation. Because the truth is, if your mental being is not fine, if your mental state is not positive, no matter how much you are swallowing as pills, no matter how much fitness, no matter how much healthy food you are eating, the impact is going to be minimal. So maybe this is the first advice, even though it came third. You must come to a point in your mind where you say, this is a phase in life and we will come out of it. But while I am going through this phase, I must constantly affirm myself. I must constantly be around positive energy. I must constantly relate with people that are inspiring me and keeping me moving.
Okay.
Because we're still
Sam,
in a state of uncertainty. Yeah.
Sam, let me cut you a bit there. We have a caller. Yeah. Anthony is calling us from Jukwe here in Abuja. Hello, Anthony. Hello, Anthony. Are you still there? Okay. Let me take this comment on Twitter from one of our viewers. He is Balogun Abdulmajid, and he's saying on Twitter, good morning, Nancy, good morning to you too. Just before the lockdown, I ventured into restaurant and bar business in Abuja. It has been disastrous. It's been a total loss. Glory be to God though, because I'm hopeful about the future. What could be advice to Balogun? Because he says he entered into the bar business and restaurant business just before the lockdown, and one would always think, okay, restaurant, people must always eat. At the end of a working day, people will go to the bar to take some drinks and enjoy, and all of that. But the lockdown showed us that
if there was no lockdown, would have been more. However, because of the lockdown, the quantity will crash. But one of the things I advise business owners to do, one of the things I advised business owners to do during the lockdown was take advantage of logistics services. There's what we call key partnerships. identify dispatch people who can help you take off the responsibility of how to get your food across to the people that want your food. So those that are in food business or any business that requires contact, you need to be able to keep your communications open and create options for delivery service, and then partner with dispatch systems so that you're able to transport your service or product to whom needs it. They still pay for it, and then they pay the dispatch. Somehow you're able to keep going. It may not be the same volume as you had when it was an walk in and
Okay.
eat kind of situation, but that way it's not as though everything just goes up under.
Okay,
Because
Sam.
yeah.
Okay, Sam, let's take this person on Zoom. He is Ima on Zoom.
Okay.
Hello, Ima, are you there?
Yeah, hello, good morning, ma.
Good morning. Please
Yes,
go
ma,
ahead
good
with your
morning, ma.
comments.
Glad to be part of this. What I would just want to try to chip in is that looking at the issue of COVID-19, it has actually opened us up to some certain economic realities. Now, if you look at it statistically, we discovered that a significant percentage of people not only within the Nigerian but globally. Now, like I maintain that this issue of COVID-19 is actually bringing up and giving up some economic millionaires. Now, this is
Okay, I think Ima, I've got to cut you short there because your connection is not coming out well. Let's see if we can take our callers through the phone lines. Would like to hear from you through the phone lines. Quickly, Sam, a lot of people that were not doing well during this period, especially perhaps as they lost their jobs or businesses, a lot of them are suffering from anxiety. Some actually even took their lives within the lockdown.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
and all of that. What would you advise? You know, because I think, have we moved beyond survival strategies now to even coping strategies?
For many people, they have not moved into coping. They are still in survival. But where we are now, Nancy, is a consequence of our shaming society. We're reaping the fruits. Ordinarily, when I'm going through a crisis of livelihood, I would be able to open up to someone to say, please, I need your support or I need your help. But because people are afraid of being shamed, some would rather take their lives than ask for support. So my honest recommendation is we need to encourage more people to be able to open up on the challenges they are having. If I don't know you're going through a challenge, I may not be able to help you. So people should find creative ways to open up on the challenges, but that is on the proactive side. On the other proactive side, more people, which happened during the lockdown, there were several private sector people that brought up palliatives and made it public and said, if you want food, call this number or go to so place. A lot of organizations, I was involved in some strategy for some organizations. So if we can have more people come together like that and create more and more support systems, then people can go in an anonymous way and pick supplies. I know these are just the ways we can go about it, because there is so much that this has exposed us to. But it all started from our shaming society. So we need to build a new thinking that says, if you need help, ask for help. Asking for help has never been a curse, neither has it ever been a sin. So people need to be able to ask for help, because there is a lot that is happening and many people are suffering. So yes, this is how we should be able to approach it. Both ends have to be proactive. Those in need to be able to open up. And those that have supplies should please do more. And we need more organizations and individuals to raise more palliatives that we can afford to give to more people. On the government side, I wish the federal government had that approach. I've not seen any effort in that area, but the government has done well in the area of curbing the spread of the coronavirus. even though we, the citizens, have not been cooperative in making sure that the curve is flattened. But in that area of flattening the curve, I think the federal government has done sufficiently well in a lot of ways. But in terms of palliatives and needs, we need more. We need more. Any more people can really help in that area.
You know, even as we're still trying to defeat the virus, during the lockdown, the livelihoods debate took sway. As a lot of people said, oh, no, I've not caught coronavirus yet. It's hunger virus that I have now. So please open up my business and open up everywhere so that I can do my daily activities. The government has finally succumbed to that. But you still see that a lot of people are somehow still afraid. A lot of people are still working from home. They're still having this fear that when they go out, they will contract the virus. If you just have one single symptom like this, even if you just, you say, oh, in your head, you're like, are you sure I've not caught this virus? You know, Google suddenly became everybody's best friend during this period. As in, you'll be checking the symptoms. Money for Google. Yes, checking the symptoms of coronavirus. So how do you,
I'm telling
you know, how do you balance that? And even as a business owner, some of your customers may decide not to even come to your physical business space anymore because they can't guarantee if you've put the safety measures in place. So how do you do all of this?
Well, I don't envy the government at this time because everybody has a right to their movement and how they want to handle the COVID situation. For those that are still at home, unfortunately, they still have to relate with those that are going out to get supplies. Whether you are working from home, you still have to probably send for a supply from a market or from a shop, and that by itself can be the vehicle for you contracting the virus. So it's a complicated mix that we have found ourselves. However, I think the minimum expectation is every system that is working should at least provide the safe NCDC compliance protocols. So I like shops that say you cannot come in unless you wear your mask. You cannot come in unless you sanitize. These are things that have been put in place. So I think that's basically where we are as a people. Every organization that chooses to operate must comply with NCDC protocols. Any individual that chooses to step out of their houses should at least preserve yourself by protecting yourself from contracting the virus in the best way you can. And if you're at home, if you're taking supplies from outside, you should also try to do the best you can to screen or sanitize whatever you're taking. I think where we are now as a people is where we can best be in the situation we have found ourselves. And we can just hope for the best with respect to the coronavirus.
What will be your advice to certain categories of businesses? You know, the GDP numbers were released on Monday by the National Bureau of Statistics. Some sectors contracted, a lot more sectors contracted than sectors that, you know, witnessed some kind of growth. Not the kind of growth we will need, especially for...
We expected.
Yes, as expected, for the fact that our population is growing at 2.56%. We have a population of 206 million people, according to the National Population Commission. So, what advice will you give those categories of businesses that are not finding it easy right now?
For me, the statistics, the one that shocked me the most was food. I was like, I was shocked because I would have thought that food wouldn't really suffer the setback. In terms of advice, I would advise businesses to pivot. This is a good opportunity to pivot your business. If your mainstream business is not bringing in the revenue you expect or you want, then I think you should pivot into the industries or sectors that are doing well.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yes. I have a call. Hello.
Okay.
Good morning. What's your name? Where are you calling from? Okay. Please go ahead with your comments.
I really appreciate what you have discussed this morning.
Thank you.
Very nice topic. You see, a lot of people really argue joining society in giving out palliative. But I try to help people in my area. Even up to this moment as I'm talking to you, there are mostly a lot of households that are passing through some tough times. We just need to help each other to provide this period. Because I don't know, even the little I have, although I do go out and I just thank the Lord that provides some for me, which I can easily share with people. Somebody visited me yesterday telling me that there is an household that even the baby of the house cannot see the day for the day, and he can't see for the night. So I have to advise that to try and do something she can give back to that family.
Okay.
I really appreciate the topic, and I really appreciate the encouragement the man of the system is giving for us.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for calling. Thank you, and thank you for the compliments too. Sam, you're still there. Our caller is saying the essence of it: be your brother's keeper. You know.
Yes.
Let's see if we can take another call. Hello. Good morning. Okay, Sam, just continue with your line of thoughts. So many calls coming in now, but
Yeah, so I was talking about pivoting, and I feel that if a business is not doing well, a typical example, there were several schools that contacted us and said, we are suffering. We are not allowed to do online schooling. We are not allowed to take fees, and we don't even have the infrastructure to do online support for our parents because they don't want to pay. And we had to re-engineer some programs. We said, okay, what if we started providing mental health trainings for the parents and how they live at home with the kids? What if you started providing remote work systems, trainings, and capacity building? What if you started sending resources to the kids in the house? What if you sent your staff home for homeschooling? These were alternatives we created for some schools. That's pivoting.
Okay. I think, Sam, we're going to leave it at that.
Yeah.
We'll do another show sometime, because from the response we're getting, people seem to, be connecting with us on this basis and on this topic. So thank you very much, Sam. Thank you very much,
so
Sam.
much, Nancy, for having me. Always and every time.
Thank you.
God bless you.
You too. So I've been speaking with Sam Obafemi, who is the founder, Sam Obafemi Behavioural Change Academy. That's the much you can take today. Have a fantastic weekend, everyone, and don't forget to keep safe. I'll see you all next week. Bye now. Thank you for watching our video. Please hit the subscribe button below, turn on post notification to follow all our updates.